Get ready. You are about to experience the life science effect. The most influential players in biotech, pharma, and medical device, bringing you their insights and inspirational stories. Are you ready to boost your career? Ready to set your medical innovation in motion? You have arrived at the right place. Every week, another industry leader, more insights, more inspiration, and tips you can implement right away to make your mark on the world. Welcome to the show. This is Steven Vinson here. Welcome to 2019. Hope you enjoyed your break, enjoyed your time with your family, or if you're catching up on old episodes and it's the middle of 2019 or some other year, well, you know what? Welcome to the show. This week, we do not have a guest, and after some conversations with our presenting sponsor, BPM Associates, they and I agree that it's more important for us to get in touch with you guys on a weekly basis and keep this conversation going about leadership in life science and growing life sciences than it is to necessarily have a guest every week. And that having been said, I just wanted to reach out to you and talk one-on-one about the new year, about 2019, where we're headed in this industry of life sciences, whether it's medical devices or biopharma or pharma or diagnostics, and kind of where the industry is headed and also where the show is headed. This will be an ever-evolving conversation, and so the show will evolve with it. As we've been talking over the last several episodes, there's a lot going on in medical device innovation with big data, especially with connected care. We've heard right here in the heartland in central Indiana, certainly globally, but we're really excited about where we're based here in central Indiana. Some are starting to call it the Silicon Prairie. And if you didn't get to hear that episode, that was the last episode with Rick Ditto and Matt Dressler, where I don't know if they coined the term or heard the term, but I love it. I'm going to start using it, the Silicon Prairie. But, you know, a lot of that we hear in the news about Google and Amazon and Uber and Apple getting involved in healthcare. And it's easy to sort of think about the future being connected to that big data, connected care area. And I agree, and it is. At the same time, there are other areas, and if you've been listening to past episodes, we've had a few conversations with Reiner Fisher and Dan Robertson over at the Indiana Biosciences Research Institute, and they kind of have their finger on the pulse, not only of the big data piece, but as we talked with Reiner Fisher, pharmaceuticals, biopharmaceuticals, and some of the great work they're doing there, there's some big things happening as well. I was just reading an article in the Life Science Leader regarding biopharmaceuticals. And that's where I kind of wanted to focus today a little bit, is where are we headed with biopharmaceuticals. There was a recent big announcement from Celltrion that they're adding some capacity. They're already, along with Samsung, one of the huge capacity manufacturers out there. Biopharmaceuticals, what are we talking about? We're talking about those large molecule, biologically derived medicines, as opposed to like the synthetic drugs of the that we're used to. When I was starting my career almost 30 years ago, if you wanted an antibiotic, you started with the biological fermentation, but there was a lot of synthetic steps to get to the API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and ultimately the medicine. We're seeing much more biologically derived compounds that have minimal processing on the back end. And so what that is leading to is a huge industry that is quickly taking over large portions of the pharmaceutical industry. So how big? Well, the biopharmaceutical industry last year, 2018, was about $275 billion globally. This year, 2019, it's expected to reach $300 billion. And it's growing, according to this article in the Life Science Leader, at about 12% per year or more. Just think that means in about 5 to 10 years, it'll double. I mean, I could do the math really quick, or you could do the math, unless you're driving, then pull over and do the math. But that means the industry is going to double in just a few years. Problem with that? I mean, that presents huge opportunity, right? Companies are, it's anywhere from biosimilars to new products, et cetera, but they have to make these products as well, right? And so production capacity, there's predicted to be quite a crunch. There is currently less capacity for producing biopharmaceuticals. There's less capacity now than there is need to produce the biopharmaceuticals. And we're going to grow at 12% per year. Something's going to give, but you know what that means is huge opportunities for somebody, right? So it's not surprising that Celltrion would announce that they're adding a ton of capacity. I mean, a ton figuratively, not literally. They're adding way more than a ton. So the contract manufacturing industry, though, surprisingly to me, when I read this article, is not a huge portion of the production capacity, but they're growing. And they're growing at about the same rate, the 12% per year. They're currently a $3.5 billion per year industry, and they're going to continue to grow. Probably they'll grow much more rapidly in China because recently China changed the laws that allows for more contract manufacturing than they used to. So a few of the large Chinese companies that are kind of connected to the government are being tested to see if this contract manufacturing model can work. I would say, and I'm no expert on biopharmaceutical manufacturing capacity, but I would say there's huge opportunity there. But what's the challenge? Well, according to, because when I read something like this, I always think, well, problems like this in capitalism get solved fairly quickly because some entrepreneur comes along, sees a constraint in the market and fills it and becomes rich, right? Well, the problem is the expertise in biopharmaceutical manufacturing. There's a large shortage of expertise. So even if you could put a bunch of stainless steel tanks in or a bunch of single-use production lines, the people who know how to run them or the experts who know how to design them are in short supply, which brings us full circle to a problem that I've been talking to folks at IBRI and at the Indiana Health Industry Forum and other places around the industry. One of the key constraints to growth in our industry is the qualified talent to actually design and build and run the systems that we need in place. So if there's a moral to this story, it is the optimistic side is things are growing and they're growing rapidly. And especially here in the Silicon Prairie where we're really pushing to grow. And we have places like IU and Purdue and Ball State and Notre Dame, all of these schools in this area producing outstanding talent. The pressure will be on more than ever to pull that talent out to the other two coasts. And then our challenge is to retain them here. But on a global scale, are we producing enough of that kind of talent? Are we encouraging the right kind of courses of study for kids going into school and going into graduate school, et cetera? So my optimism is our industry is going to continue to grow. My concern is how do we get the right amount of talent out there? I'll continue asking people these questions. And so my call to action for you today is to shoot me an email. It's at steven.vinson@bpm-associates.com or hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. If you search for the host of The Life Science Effect, Steve Vinson, V-I-N-S-O-N, or I'm on Twitter at Steve_Vinson. Lots of ways to find me. I'll repeat my email address in a minute. But if you know someone in this field, either in the biopharmaceutical field, who is intimately aware of the challenges of getting the right kind of talent on board, and maybe they would have some insight here, or maybe I said something that you think doesn't sound quite right, and maybe they would challenge my assumptions or maybe challenge this article I read, hit me up, steven.vinson@bpm-associates.com. Or any other topic, really. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that I like to talk to leaders in the industry and the dynamic people with their finger on the pulse and a story to tell. So send me the name. Providing an introduction would be even better. At a minimum, I hope you enjoy listening to this. If you do, go right ahead and subscribe. Follow me on LinkedIn or follow me on Twitter, or just shoot me an email and let's get the conversation rolling. In the meantime, share it with your friends. TheLifeScienceEffect.com is the easiest way to find us. As always, thank you to our presenting sponsor, BPM Associates. And everyone, I hope you're having a good start to 2019, and we'll talk to you next week. You have just experienced the Life Science Effect. If you liked it, be sure and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And more importantly, tell your colleagues, tell your boss, tell your friends. It'll make you look smart, and maybe it'll even get you a raise. Thanks again to our presenting sponsor, BPM Associates. Set your medical innovations in motion. BPM helps life science companies design, manage, and execute their most complex projects. What effect will you cause? Thanks to today's guest and to all of our guests. Who else should I be talking to? Send me an email at steven.vinson@bpm-associates.com. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and go make something amazing happen.